Marianne, this is Scott's way to keep you in line. I'll just hit the record button, and so Marianne now knows to shut up.
No, that has no impact on her whatsoever.
Ginny, you give me a run for my money every day.
You stop it. No, it's, well, Mac is smart enough to know that I'm very protective of our guest and our own reputations. So I edit, Ginny. The amount of time I spend editing these things is pretty amazing. Imagine. We haven't leaked an F-bomb yet, and I'm thrilled about that. So came close. I was saying a lot. That was awkward. But
really?
No. But I'm
the only one who's actually dropped the F-bomb.
It's been me more so than anybody else.
I was going to say,
I'm
you.
I'm definitely the wild card here, and I own it, and I'm all right with it. Welcome to Leaders, Letters, and Legacy, the podcast where the past, present, and principle collide and inspire. We're thrilled you're here as we explore the life lessons and leadership moments that continue to shape the fraternity and sorority experience. Along with Dr. Marianne Calle, I'm Scott Fussell, and it is a good day, a really, really good day to tell a great story. Let's go. What's fun about having somebody like you on here is our friendships can shine through. And so not only are we wanting to shine a light on your story, but we have an opportunity to model lifelong friendship and interfraternalism, and how this gift called fraternity and sorority isn't a 4-year experience. It can be a lifelong one. So we get a chance to model that. So we want all the good parts of Ginny to shine today. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to part 1 of our conversation with Ginny Carroll. Ginny's the former executive director at Alpha Zeta Delta and is the founder and current exec at the Circle of Sisterhood. Circle's mission is to remove educational barriers for girls and women globally, and they have done extraordinary work in the 10 years that they have been in existence. Part 1 of our conversation explores what drove Ginny to start Circle and how the power of sorority has fueled this movement of global change. Enjoy. What a good day this is going to be. Mac, what is going on? It is so good to see you again. Happy birthday week.
Happy birthday week to you too, Scott. I think, the stars must have known that they needed to align,
Well, the stars knew they needed to align, and I think our families knew that we did not need to be anywhere near each other in the same cities or states even, because I'm not sure that the local communities could have handled us. So that would have been a lot for them to deal with on a daily basis, and especially on a celebratory week like we're having this week. So,
and I'm so excited that our listeners are kind of joining us for our week.
Yeah.
And as we were saying before our listeners came on, our guest today is definitely a gift to the world, but a gift to us that we get to spend this week with this remarkable human who I don't really know if this person truly understands the reach and the impact they have had on so many. I'd like to, Scott, you read books, don't you? Do you read?
I do.
You read? Okay, good. I love that. Good book every now and then. Sometimes we just want to get lost in it. Sometimes we want a little self-help. Sometimes we just want a little mystery. Some people read those other kind of books. You know what I'm talking about. I don't read those.
Hey-o.
But anyway, some folks read a book and it stays with them. And some people take action and some people don't. And our guest today, we've been friends for a long, long time and knew what a remarkable person she is. However, this last part of her journey of impact, right, has been way bigger than, I don't even know if she really knew where this was going to lead her. So I'd love for you to tell us the professional part of it, but to think that somebody could read a book and then create a movement, that's the world
That's
changer
where
we
it's
have
at.
with us today.
That's what's up. So, yeah, you're not kidding. What a gift that we get to talk to today's guest on this particular week. And she's legitimately one of my favorite humans on the planet.
Me too.
And I can't wait for our listeners to get to know her a little bit better today. So, today's guest, legitimately, legitimately, I want to repeat again, one of my favorite humans on the planet. She is a day maker. She is a world changer, and that is not hyperbole. That is fact. That is absolute fact. And she's been a strong proponent of the sorority fraternity experience for decades. And she's been a strong proponent and actually a creator of those experiences and opportunities that provide women with extraordinary opportunities to grow personally and as leaders and within their organizations. And this has all been happening. She's habitually done this since she was initiated into AZD at Western Kentucky University, and she traveled for AZD as a consultant after
That's
graduation. And she's
Alpha Z Delta.
thank
AZ.
you, thank
Okay, you
you,
got that? Yes, sir.
thank you, Alpha Z Delta for a couple of years after graduation. And then she spent the next 15 years working for the organization. In that time, she spent 5 of those years as the executive director. So a lot of experience professionally in the field. Now, she briefly worked for a software company in product development shortly after that experience, but that was sort of a short-lived opportunity because she saw an opportunity to be and do more. This is a pattern for her, right? So she founded a consulting business called Ingenuity, context clue for all of our listeners. She focuses on building personal competence and improving team synergies, all through skill development workshops, board orientations, governance coaching, strategic conversations, and a host of other topics. So she's a frequent keynoter on the fraternity sorority campus circuit, and she literally changes lives everywhere she goes. On every one of these campuses, a young person sees what she has to say and they want to be a part of the movement that she has built. So the most important thing for you to know about today's guest, and this is going to tip it off for everybody, is a decade ago, she founded a movement, an organization, and a global change maker called the Circle of Sisterhood. We are thrilled to have our guest with us today. Please welcome to the show our dear friend, Ginny Carroll.
As soon as she comes.
There she is.
She's sitting there going, that's me. That's me.
You're very generous, both of you.
It was all
Well,
true. It was all true.
we're generous because our guest is ridiculously generous with her time, her talent, and her treasure, with her spirit and her leadership. So you deserve your flowers 100 times over, and we just can't tell you how much we appreciate you deciding to spend some time with us today. This is going to be so much fun. Thank you, Ginny.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to spend time sandwiched by you two?
We love that you think that. We love that you think that's a valid question, but there are people who would answer that. Oh, I'm definitely that person. I would love not to spend time with them.
They're lost.
Yes, yes, that's totally the situation. We want to spend a good bit of time talking about Circle today, but it's important for us to set that up. And so I want to take a little bit of a step back. You are one of those prime examples, especially in our circle, that that has really maxed out this fraternity sorority experience. You have taken lifelong membership and lifelong friendship and lifelong service to another level. Talk a little bit about why that's been important to you, and maybe a model or two who said, "Hey, this is the way we walk out this thing called fraternity and sorority."
Well, I mean, I've been lucky, really lucky, because there have always been people in the experience who have nudged me in ways to do things or to grow my skills or whatever that looks like. So, I mean, for me to be able to say there's 2 or 3 people, because there's hundreds. And
Yeah.
so how do you pick in my, 40 years of experience in the Greek world? And so I think I was really lucky that people in the beginning, like when I joined the sorority, I didn't go through formal recruitment. I was picked up as a open bidding new member, but I was
Year round.
a pledge. I was called a pledge, but So it wasn't even through formal recruitment. I just met some Alpha Z Deltas and really enjoyed their company. And so, I mean, it started there. I mean, I was thinking about this. It started there. It was started there with somebody saying, acknowledging that there was potential leadership, right? And so capitalizing on that by putting me in positions of leadership and ultimately ending up to be the president of my sorority for 2 years. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Don't try more than one. And so that acknowledgement of leadership happened consistently. Right. And so I was from a struggling chapter on a campus, and I don't know what made me apply to be a consultant, but I thought, I got some things to give. I could try to be a consultant. And so I thought, there's no way they're going to hire me. There's no way from this little B chapter that struggled, and my grades weren't stellar and all that kind of stuff. But they hired me, and I always said to the woman that hired me, the executive director at the time, I always said, I was the last choice, wasn't I? Like, you just had to fill a spot.
I feel so much like you copied and pasted my journey. It was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to apply for this job. I
Right.
don't know that Beta's going to hire somebody from Middle Tennessee State. Grades weren't stellar, but let's just go ahead and send it in.
And then
Let's send it in.
when I met the women that traveled with me, I'm like, I was the last choice. Anyway, but that was just like another moment when someone said, you've got some leadership skills. We need to use these leadership skills. You've got some communication skills. We need to capitalize on that. And then it just continued. And so I always said to my Diane Gregory, who was the executive director of Alpha Zeta Delta for a long, long time and was my boss and taught me a whole heck of a lot. And I appreciate that to this day, kept offering opportunity. So there was always an opportunity for me to grow skills in a different way. And that just kept happening. And so over 15 years, it just kept happening. And I was probably in 5 different roles and then ultimately became the executive director. And so there's just people that surround you that if you're paying attention, right? You have to pay attention to the people saying or nudging or encouraging. You've got to take that. You can't just, oh, no, that's not. No. You got to listen to people and hear what they say and hear them give you the feedback, and you need to take it in, whether it's good or bad. And that just kept happening. And ultimately, I think the beauty of the experience for me, because I've been lucky to work for my national sorority and work in the interfraternal community on a national level, right? So
Mhm.
that's meeting Scott Fusell. That's meeting Marianne Kelly. That's meeting all these other people who are not part of my particular group, but also change makers and icons in the industry, right? And so meeting people and getting and everybody gives you their time. Everybody gives you their time. So it's all these stellar human beings that you get to be around and build relationships with and friendships and longtime friendships. And they're not all just part of your group, right? They're just part of this bigger community. So I think the community of Greek, the community of interfraternal, is really given me the gift of continuing to move me through all these things I've been able to do.
And we'll be right back. Scott Fusell's approach to mental health and well-being programming is, shall we say, it's just different. If you're looking for content heavy on the clinical side, Scott's probably too engaging and maybe a little too authentic for your organization. However, if you're seeking a refreshingly transparent, application-rich, and shame-free message, you can now say, I know a guy, and his story sounds really familiar. After the show, head over to scottfusellcoaching.com and check out the many ways Scott can empower you, your family, your community, or your organization with the tools needed to experience true transformation. Scott Fusell Coaching and Consulting. Well-being and parenting programming that meets you right where you are. Now back to the show.
The gift of continuing to move me through all these things I've been able to do. And I've been able to do a lot of amazing things. Trust me, I understand my privilege, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in the company of so many incredible people.
Well, and, Ginny,
Absolutely.
as somebody who was on the receiving end of your work, when I don't even think I was national president yet, but, Theta Phi Alpha, we brought you in because Ginny had worked with all size organizations. And, she was a person, you were like that woman who was a consultant at the time when, there were some men in the field, but you were the first woman really digging deep, I believe, in helping many of our organizations to look at strategy and to look at governance and to figure out how to make some sense of this while when we were in that transitional phase of we're kind of mom and pop shops, you know what I mean? And you would say, but we have to have a plan, and you were just really very forward thinking in your work. I mean, so many of us have benefited from the work that you've done with all of us. And I think that's been the cool part is you've been able to work with generations, all different ages and stages of our lives as sorority women and fraternity men. So for that, I'm just so grateful that Alpha Z Delta helped set you up to give to the rest of us too, you know?
Well, and
Be able to
that because I was fortunate. I mean, I worked in my consulting business. I worked with lots of nonprofits is where I preferred to stay, but I worked across sectors. But I spent a lot of time with a lot of the National Panhellenic sororities. And the only word that keeps popping into my head, Marianne, when you're talking about me working with Theta Phi Alpha or whoever, is the word trust. Because if people don't trust that you can give them the information that they need or keep their confidence or whatever that is, you're not, as a consultant, you're not going to be successful. But I think people, if I were going to say anything to a young person, I know you'll probably ask me this later, but I'm going to say it right now. If I were to a young person coming up in the interfraternal community like we have, is you have to build trust with other people. You cannot burn bridges left and right. You have to build trust with all kinds of people. And the Circle of Sisterhood would have never happened had there not been a network of people to support it, right? And we all know that. Like, if I was just Joe Schmo on the street and I'd never been in a sorority and I'd never built this huge network of people around me, it wouldn't have happened. There's no way, because I wouldn't have the network. And I think that's one of the gifts of fraternal is the people. Like the people, as long as you choose to move out of your 4-year experience, connecting to people.
And
yeah.
your reach was big.
Yeah.
Then and now. Bigger now. But for you to be able to create the Circle of Sisterhood, it was about the trust in you and the belief in you.
Marianne.
Jenny.
You got, when you want to create something like that, you got to bring people to the table who are going to help you move, right? Marianne, who was one of our very early connectors. And that was
and I'm circling back around, don't you worry.
We're coming back to that.
Okay.
So but two of the things that I want to make sure our listeners hear loud and clear right out of the gates is, one, you didn't say no for people. Like when you could have said, they're never going to hire me, I'm not sending this application in. You could have said no for them and just taken yourself completely out of the running for that experience.
Right.
But you didn't. You're like, you know what? Maybe there's a chance. And look how your life changed because you didn't say no for someone. And you gave other people a chance to see something in you that they just, we talk about watering the bamboo. You just keep watering it. You never know when that's going to break the soil, but you got to keep watering the bamboo. And so that continued to happen with you. The other thing that I want to make sure people hear loud and clear is that I think specifically within this community, well, from a friendship perspective, the trust factor, that is the foundation of all of it, right? But specifically, I think specifically in this community, trust is a currency. And we lose it in buckets and we gain it in drips. And if you don't have it, A, you're not going to be effective, and B, you're not going to have much work to do because nobody's going to say, hey, yeah, we would love for you to come alongside us on this particular initiative. So that resistance to saying no for other people and the emphasis you place on trust and your ability to create it, earn it, and nurture it, I think are hallmarks of your leadership. So, and we'll be right back. Dr. Marianne Kale is a nationally recognized facilitator and leader in building belonging and organizational culture. With over 25 years of experience in higher ed and strategic initiatives, Marianne empowers teams and communities to feel seen, valued, and connected. Her work blends story, research, music, and heart to bring people together around purpose and identity. To learn more about how Dr. Kale can help your organization or community build belonging and connection, strengthening and cultivating a values-based culture, go to maryanncalle.com. Now back to the show. We've dipped a toe in the Circle of Sisterhood pond, so we're going to start going there now. So Mac mentioned in the intro, you read this book. What's going on there? So, but for those of us who knew you pre-Circle, your generosity of leadership and spirit and laughter and good energy has always been a part of who you are. But we saw that really start to take form in a very obvious world-changing way about a decade ago. So let's get to Circle. Talk a little bit about that book that you read that sort of started it all that Mac mentioned in the opening. And then we'll follow up from there. But talk about what inspired you. What was the match that sparked the fire to get this rolling?
A book. I was not a very good college student, but I certainly am a better adult learner,
Mm.
right? Because I was still a kid in college, right? So always looking for good books to read when I hear about them. And I had watched literally an Oprah Winfrey episode when she had a show, and she had Nicholas Kristof on the show. And he's the author of this book, Half the Sky: Turning Oppression into Opportunity for Women Worldwide. And he talked about all the issues that women face around the world. And I got really interested in it because I've always been about women's empowerment. I've always been about education. I've always been about sorority because I understand the benefit of all of those things. And he started talking about the through line of most of the issues women face around the brutality inflicted upon women around the world just blows my mind. And so I didn't understand that at such a high level until I read that book. And you can't just read it. You have to put it down because it's disturbing how women are treated around the world. And I had no idea, no idea. And so my privilege was smacked in the face in a huge way because here I am, a white woman living in the United States, college educated. Not even 7% of the world is college educated, right? That girls all over the world can't get to school because they're girls. And so
Not because they don't have transportation, not because they don't have a route to get there, purely
because they're
because
girls.
they are girls.
And then, we could talk about that for 3 years. But I just, the more I read the book and when I finally finished the book, I was like, I've got to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to do something. And I kept coming back to, just the brutality inflicted, the stories. Now, the beauty of the book, too, is that it also talks about some of these women overcoming, which is great storytelling, right? That they, against horrible odds, they overcame. But just some parts of the world, the ultrasound is illegal because if you tell the parents the sex of the child and it's a girl, they'll abort the child. I mean, or they'll kill it upon birth. There's just things that you just don't even, in this country, we don't even fathom, right? If I've got too many mouths to feed, I'm going to make sure the boys because they'll have the advantage. So I'm going to make sure my boys are educated. I'm going to make sure, and there's also a thing called son preference. And so there's so many things that women have to deal with, whether it's sex trafficking or not being in school. And there's reasons for that, right? So families need the human power to run the farms or to fetch the water or whatever. And when you're walking, 2 hours to get water. So there's just so many obstacles. And so, but the through line I kept hearing from Nicholas Kristof was that education can help eradicate this stuff. It's not going to solve the problem, although education will eradicate poverty. That data is there. It's not just me saying that. The data is there. Education, if every human being on the planet were educated at the level they wanted to be educated, things would be very, very different. And so education will eradicate poverty, but it will also diminish some of the other issues that women have to deal with. And so I just, here I am. I'm working in this community of affluent people who are all college educated. Everybody has a college degree in my periphery, and some have 2 and 3. Yet I'm learning that not even the actual number is 6.8% of the world's population holds college degrees. So that was the inclination to me that maybe sorority could be part of this answer, right?
I saw Ginny at a conference, like shortly after you read the book, and you were fired up.
Right.
I'm talking like, she's like, I read this book. And Ginny, in a group of folks, used to do a breakout every year. I'd wait for this breakout about the books that they read this year. And it was a compilation of all these amazing books. But I had never seen Ginny fired up about a book. And she said, and we're gonna do something about this. And I was like, okay. I mean, people say that kind of stuff all the time, right? But she was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm serious. And she goes, and it's gonna be sorority women. And and I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, and I knew at that moment, Ginny, that like you weren't just talking about it. It had taken hold of you. It had taken hold of you. And yeah, I
I
don't
s
think
I
it
swear
hasn't let go yet, sister. It
no.
hasn't let go
I
yet.
I must have bought 100 copies of that book, and fortunately, it was a paperback at the time, so it wasn't quite expensive, but I must 100 and gave it to sorority women and fraternity men and said, "Sign your name in it, write your Greek letters, and hand it to the next sorority woman, because
Uh,
we gotta be part of the solution." I mean, I remember going to an AFA meeting and just people probably got tired of me talking about it.
No, no. I mean,
I,
people knew
I
you were
don't think
passionate
so.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Needed
so gosh, so you read it. When did the idea for Circle, was that immediate, or was it, I just know we need to do something and it needs to happen now. I don't know what that is, but like how long did it take from I've read this book, I see a need, we've got to do something about this. How long did it take for you to figure out what it might be?
I mean, I read the book, and I talked about it with everybody that would listen to me talk about it, and I think when an entity wasn't part of the picture, but I knew that we could do something, and perhaps an entity would be part of the solution, right? And just the more people I talk to, and I talk to, and this is part of that network thing, right? Having a network of people to talk to about something like this, and just hearing what people had to say and whether they, what direction they thought we should go. And I think it ultimately I decided we need to start an organization that can start facilitating help. And so then I just asked people, and nobody said no. I mean, I have not met a sorority woman that has said to me, no, I don't want to help girls go to school, because it just is, it just makes sense. We're the most educated women in the world, right? A collective. And so I think when we decided to establish an entity, we had our 501(c)(3) status in less than a year.
Which is
That's
unheard
rare,
of.
because sorority women, I mean, sorority women have power. And so somebody told me about an attorney. I called her Bulldog Bailey by the time I was finished working with her, because I'm sure you two know Diane Bailey. She said, this is what I need. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, sit tight. And we had our status within like 9 months.
That's
So if there were not a lot of people like her and Marianne and people like that who pro bono, like we had a lot of volunteers and a lot of people connected. We threw a orange bag on Marianne's shoulder and made her walk around a meeting, and people would ask her what the orange bag meant. And then she had to talk about it. So, it was just building a community of people who understood. And even to this day, when I'm talking to undergraduate women, there's 3 things you need to remember. That's it. 70% of out of school youth in the world are girls. 2/3 of illiterate adults in the world are women. And the community you belong to is college educated, and not even 7% of the world is college educated. Like, that's all I have to say for people to be like, we need to do something about this.
We hope you've enjoyed this part of our conversation with Ginny Carroll. We'll see you next time on Leaders, Letters, and Legacy. You've been listening to Leaders, Letters, and Legacy. The show is produced by Scott Fussell and hosted by Dr. Marianne Calais and Scott Fussell. Background noise is provided by Bailey, Bentley, and Lincoln. Spousal support provided by Sue and Reed. For more, be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And to help others find the show, be sure to rate and review the podcast before logging out. Leaders, Letters, and Legacy is an L3 Learning production.